สวัสดีครับท่านผู้ชมวันนี้กีตาร์ไทยอินดิวิชั่นแนลนะครับวันนี้เรามีโอกาสพิเศษครับเราจะพาทุกท่านมาพูดคุยกับเป็น CEO นะครับ CEO หนุ่มของบริษัทผลิตแอมป์ที่เป็นหนึ่งในตำนานของซาวด์แห่งอังกฤษนะครับก็พบกับคุณเจมส์เลนนี่นะครับก็เป็น CEO ของบริษัท Laney Amplifier นะครับ Hello James
Hello
สวัสดีครับ Okay nice to have you here
Nice to be here really nice to be here
So you could you share us about the could you introduce yourself? You're the son of
Yeah. So my father founded Laney in 1967, September 1967. So we have our 50th anniversary next year. So it's a big year next year. I took over as CEO about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I've been in the company for about 15 years officially. A lot more than that unofficially.
So you grew up in the company?
Yeah, pretty much. I used to go to the factory. I used to help out and do jobs in the holidays, help make things basically. Used to go to a lot of trade shows. Learned a lot of bad habits at a very early age at trade shows with some of the things there. That was fun. But then I never really sort of planned to work in the family business. I actually kind of did my own thing and went in a different direction, but sort of found my way back in basically.
Okay, so could you please share history of Laney with us briefly?
Okay, as I say, we started September 1967. That was basically the official incorporation. My father was making amplifiers before that. He played in a band called the Band of Joy with a couple of famous guys. Robert Plant and John Bonham, which is pretty cool, really. But they went off and did something much more impressive. And really, my dad played in bands as a bass player and really made his first amplifier because he couldn't afford to buy one. That was why. And that evolved into a couple of other friends who couldn't afford to buy one, asking for one. And this was all in the family garden shed. It was his father's shed in the garden. But as the demand grew, he created a real business, and that started off in Birmingham in a place called Digbeth. In an old custard factory. I don't know you know what custard is. It's kind of a thing that we put on traditional puddings in England. It's an old custard factory. And it grew from there. I think going from making a couple of things as a hobby to finding a way of actually becoming a mass producer takes a lot of stages and a lot of phases. And I think my father went through some pretty tough years to grow the business. A lot of risks and a lot of pressure. But we've grown and come along pretty good way now. So my father's that's a very short beginning, and there's a lot of history in the middle. But really our heart's always been with the tube amplifiers. That's always been at the core of the business. But as the business has grown, we've started to do more and more different types of products. And it's evolved from there. My father is chairman of the company, founder of the company, but really retired now. He's always on the phone. He's good to have around. He's got a lot of experience, but also he's kind of stepped back. He's given me a bit of space. So.
Okay. So what is your philosophy behind building the amplifier?
It sounds cheesy, but the philosophy is just play it. That's the cat. I think it's on the screen over here. Just play it. That's the philosophy, and it's really, really simple. That we know there are lots of products in the market. We know there are lots of musicians, all with different ears, different guitars, different tastes. But we make a lot of different amplifiers, and we're pretty confident that one of them is going to be right for most players.
Okay.
So it really is that simple. We like to listen to what the musicians that we work with say, and make a product at a good price at the end of it that people can afford to buy. That's really simply the philosophy.
Okay. And what is your product range at the moment?
It's a lot. There's more than 100 products. We sell a lot of tube amplifiers for guitar. We also sell a lot of transistor and digital amplifiers for guitar. But also there's a very big proportion of our business that's for bass guitar, acoustic guitar, something we call Audio Hub, which is for keyboards and electronic drums, and some PA products as well. So there's quite a diverse product line, because we do like to make products for all musicians. And that's really part of our history and culture. My father, maybe as a bass player, didn't just want to make product for guitar players, and it's all kind of evolved from there. So whilst guitar tube amps is really in our heart, there's a lot of other things around it too these days. So.
Okay. And in your opinion, what is a good amplifier should be?
I think that's really a matter of opinion. You know, I think a good amplifier is one that makes you feel like you want to play it. You know, I think how the musician feels when they play is the single most important thing to how they sound. You know, if it feels right and they get everything working together, the guitar and the speaker and the amplifier, and it all comes together, then they play better. And they are more creative. You know,
they can express themselves.
They can express themselves. And you know, I suppose I spend some of my time in a corporate world where we have to talk about numbers and volume, and it's very important to step back and remember that this is actually about the musician and how they feel when they play. That's the thing that really counts.
And what factor make amplifier can get to that point?
I think for me, a lot of this is about how we listen to musicians, how we talk to musicians, and they say, we like this, we've seen this, what about this? Some of it's that. Some of it is just wanting to design something else. We're quite restless. We do like to design products all the time, and our engineers get really excited when they have a good idea, and very, very keen to bring the product through, very, very keen to show it to people, get their opinion, and that's kind of how it works. So there isn't like a single secret formula where you start here and you end here. Sometimes we develop a prototype and then we decide we don't like it and don't make it. That does happen. But it's a creative process as much as is possible. You know.
Okay. And if we talk about the high gain tone in the like guitar world, there are two big, you know, side, like US high gain and British high gain. So as a British amplifier company, so in your opinion, what is the British high gain sound?
Well,
what's the identity of like British sound?
I traditionally, the identity of the British high gain sound is really that EL34, slightly more aggressive, slightly spikier sound, whereas the American sound is a bit more compressed and a bit more sort of squashed. I have to say, I don't necessarily think in terms of British and American.
Okay.
I think we try as much as is possible to just make different amps because we like them.
Okay.
It sounds really simple, but there's so many products in the market now. There's so many effects pedals. There's so many sounds that people can make. It's really evolved beyond the British and American thing, and it's much more about, well, how can we build it? You know, our Ironheart amplifiers have 6L6 tubes in them and have a much more compressed sound. Typically, by that category, that's more of an American sound. The GHR amps over here have EL34s in, Lionhearts have EL84s in and a Class A. So there's a lot of different ways to get a sound. But yeah, it's hard to simplify it. Really.
Okay. Like Laney has been in the history, building the rock and roll history since, like, as you say, almost 50 years. But this day, you're still coming up with the new product with the emerging technology, like the IRT studio. That I really like it because it shall allow guitarists to record silently. So could you talk more about?
Well, I think it's about solving problems. Simply, it's about solving problems. The great thing about tube amplifiers is the way they break up in this special, warm, unique way. This is why we're still putting tubes in you know, in products, because by any logical technical approach, no one would put any tubes in any products. It's a crazy thing to do. This is 1950s radios. Why would you do that? But it sounds better.
Yeah.
The problem with tubes is to get the best out of them, you have to play loud.
Yeah.
And what we've worked really hard on is finding different ways of getting that real tube sound either into a venue at a sensible volume, or even better, into a recording platform in a way that retains the true sound. And that was a big challenge for us, and we're really proud of it, because it's most people play in the digital environment with digital products.
Yeah.
And they have limitations.
Yeah.
You know, if you go and play in a huge recording studio, they're going to mic up an amp and turn it up loud. That's how they're going to get the sound. But you can't necessarily do that in your home, in your apartment, or even in a venue.
Yeah.
So to be able to harness that tube sound, also with speaker emulation that we put in there as well, and put that straight into a DAW, that was a real challenge. To take that special analog thing and put it in the digital realm.
Yeah.
And we also, one of our engineers was really inspired, because they said, well, okay, we've done this way, this can go in by USB. USB goes both ways.
Yeah.
You can send this back through the amplifier as a dry, as a second track that's been recorded dry, and you can change your sound.
Yeah, reamp. Later.
And reamp.
Yeah.
And that was really inspired. And it's since the IoT Studio, we've done several other products with that technology in, because it's quite distinctive, and it solves a problem.
Yeah. Okay. And the latest GHR series. Yeah. It comes with the unique concept which allows us to blend the preamp and the power amp distortion. Can you talk about
basically,
it? It sounds unique too.
Yeah, I think the first GH series we came out with, I think, was 1994. 1995 maybe, something like that. So it's about 20 years of GH. And the GH had this characteristic sound that we really were proud of. I suppose, going back to the British thing, more of a British sound, but kind of this hot rod British sound, more preamp gain. So the GH always had this really strong preamp gain sound. But also, it came to life when you really pushed the output stage as well. The problem with that these days is that it's too loud.
Too loud, yeah.
And that sent us on this journey to say, well, okay, there's really three parts to the sound. There's the preamplifier, there's the power amplifier, there's the speaker. Speaker is fixed. You know, we've got very nice Lesson speakers in here, and don't mess with that, that's why. So either the preamplifier is doing a lot of work, or the power amplifier is doing a lot of work. And it's not which is right and which is wrong. It's just that every player with different pedals, different guitars, different feel, they need a different sweet spot. So to be able to put more in the preamp, or more in the power amp, or more of both if you want, or less of both, that gives you the ability to find your sound. And it's a tweaker's amp. It's not a product that you just put everything in the center and say that's my sound. Might be, but for a lot of players, how the preamplifier interacts with the power amplifier is really the trick.
So you need to try your own.
Yeah, and it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
We also wanted to design a product that worked very well with lots of pedals in the front end, because lots and lots of guys these days are using lots of pedals, and that's great because there's some great things.
Yeah.
But there is a bit of a preoccupation with preamp gain. You know, everything is preamp gain, and we kind of forget, our ears have forgotten what power amp gain is like. So to be able to allow those to interact in a certain way is really the trick.
Okay. And you talk about the player using a lot of effect pedal these days, and the new trend is the digital effect modeling stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestion on how to using the digital stuff with the amplifier?
I think it's actually the best way. You know, I think some people say, oh, well, I'm going to use this digital product, I don't need an amp, or I use an amp, I hate digital products. Well, generally, extremes of opinion are bad. Right?
You missed the chance.
I think it's much better to say, how can I take this thing that does lots of cool stuff with this thing that does lots of cool stuff and make them come together? So there's a few different ways. Sometimes a tube amp is really good just to define the basic sound, that raw, open sound that you don't get from digital. It's close, but it's not there.
Something is missing. Still missing.
And a lot of these guys who've gone over to these kinds of all-in-one solutions still want the real amp behind them because it's the feel that is different. And if you can put those two together, that works really well. Another product that we came up with was the IRTX. I don't know whether you've seen this, but basically it's the idea of that product is that, again, you can put your multi-effects through a full range, flat signal, basically a PA speaker. Because effects, particularly the time and modulation effects, they work on this frequency. And a guitar speaker works on this frequency. So you're not necessarily getting everything out that you want to get out. But also, good guitar tone doesn't sound great up here, and you don't hear any of it down here, so it sounds better through a speaker. So putting an IRTX expansion cab in a system with a tube amplifier with a conventional speaker allows you to blend those two things together and find how this is my tube amp, this is my digital sound, and actually get the best of both worlds properly.
Bring the full potential of both product type.
So I think you get some extreme opinions. You know, this is right, this is wrong. No, it's a creative process, and guitar players. I don't think I know any guitar players who go, I've got my one amp and my one guitar, and that's it. I'm set for life. That's not what our business is about. The magic is that everyone is different, everyone finds another product, everyone's creative, and that's what makes it. That's why we get to sell so many amps.
And for guitarists, it's fun to try new gear.
Yeah, that's it.
It's always fun.
It's not, I'm feeling a bit uninspired, I need to learn a new lick. It's I'm feeling a bit uninspired, I need to buy a new pedal. You know, it makes you feel good.
Okay, and if the guitarists want to buy the new amp, that suit them, do you have any advice when they go to store and there are many amplifier lineup?
Ignore everything that doesn't say Laney on it.
Okay, listen. If they want to buy new Laney amp, how do they get started?
Just play it.
Just try everything, right?
One thing I would say to guitar players who are trying amps is go to the store with your own guitar. Because you walk in, there's a strange guitar, and say, try it with this. How can you test it? You know, often when we're working with endorsers, we really get them excited about the product when they try it in their own environment, their own guitars, their own setup. And it's the same thing as a player. If you've got the guitar that you're close to, that's, you know, you take to bed with you at night, you can't just go into a shop, take a stock guitar off the shelf, and then expect to find the amp that you want. So that's my best bit of advice, I would say, is try it with your own guitar.
And once they buy the amp home, how do they, play aloud? How do they learn about the new friend? Once they buy it home.
Once they buy it,
how to get used to it?
Well, there's the manual freaks who read everything, and there's the plug it and turn it and see what happens team, and both is fine.
Okay.
But what I would say is to get the best out of the product, read the manual.
Okay.
There's some information in there that's worthwhile knowing.
Okay.
So sometimes it'll tell you how to not destroy the product, because you plug a tube amp in without a speaker connected to it, you could destroy the product. Unless you buy an RT Studio. But also there's sort of hidden secrets in there. But sometimes I think you can just come in, play, try it, get used to it, read the manual next week.
Okay. And when Laney relocated the factory to China, I think it creates some doubt in some player about the quality change. Could you talk more about it?
I think we live in a commercial world where it's a reality. It was a painful process for my father because we had 5 factories and a lot of employees making woodwork, making transformers, making PCBs, making some of our own speakers, making everything.
Yeah.
But it was necessary.
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't be making amplifiers at all if we were trying to make them in the UK, because it's not a competitive environment for that kind of product. We actually do still make some high-class products in the UK, but it can only be at that very high level because of the nature of production.
Yeah.
But what that also meant was when we had to move our factory somewhere else, we knew how to make cabinets, we knew how to make speakers, we knew how to make PCBs and so on and so on. We knew it all.
Yeah.
And even now, 20-something years later of beginning that process, a lot of those people still work for the company.
Okay.
We still have all that technology. So we don't really think of it as closing one factory and starting another. We just think of it as putting it somewhere else. Now, what we then do is we have very, very high quality standards. And to be honest, these days, the level of automation and the level of consistency, the product standards are better.
Yeah.
Those are the realities, because we are very, very stringent on component tolerances. We've learned the hard way along the way. Everybody has to. But by the time we got to moving the products to China, we kind of knew what was going to be a problem, and we knew how to avoid a lot of the problems. And we have a very, very high quality standard. That's probably the best explanation I can give is, you know, I go back home to the factory and there's not lots of amps to repair. You know, that doesn't happen. Sometimes valves blow, sometimes fuses blow, sometimes people do silly things.
But that's normal.
But it's normal. But really the production standard is higher.
Okay. And how do you project the future in the guitar amplifier market and guitar society in the future?
I think it is a worry in a smartphone, Xbox culture that we do need to encourage people to play music. I think a lot of what the guys in Thailand here are doing at Yamaha in encouraging music schools is really important, because we have to make it possible for people to learn, and then they have to go and find a way of making it feel good. And you know, people play guitar because it makes them feel good. That's the important thing. It makes them. Sometimes they want to be a rock star. Sometimes they just want to play in their bedroom. There's all spectrums. But it is a really worthwhile creative process that keeps people out of doing crazy things and puts them in a good, healthy place. And it's a very special industry in that respect. How to do it? Well, I think we have to align the products with the music culture. You know, young people want to listen to music, so we need to make sure we listen to what young people are saying and make products that speak to them.
Okay, maybe last one for today.
Sure.
Why Laney?
Why Laney? Well, just play it, I would say. I've already said it, but I think just play it. I think it's hard for me to say because Laney is very close to my heart. But we travel all over the world, all the time, and meet lots of very creative musicians. One's just sat over there. And what we see all over the world is this amazing network of people that like our products. And we listen to those guys and we make friends with them, and so we feel like we know not just the UK or the USA. We know a lot of people in a lot of countries. We're selling Laney in more than 60 countries. So we speak to everyone, I think.
Okay. So that's just play it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just play it.
Okay. Thank you so much, James, for your time.
I really enjoyed it.
And hope you come back again.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
ครับผมก็หวังว่าจะได้ข้อมูลที่มีประโยชน์กันนะครับก็ ต้องขอบคุณบริษัทสยามดนตรียามาฮ่าสำหรับโอกาสดีๆมาณที่นี้ด้วยครับแล้วเดี๋ยวเรารอดูกันแล้วกันว่ากีตาร์ไทย International จะพาท่านผู้ชมไปคุยกับใครนะครับในเทปหน้าวันนี้ผมลาไปก่อนนะครับสวัสดีครับ